The breaking point. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before the holographic display in her laboratory, watching as the consciousness transfer completed its millionth successful simulation. The soft blue glow of the quantum processors reflected off her eyes as she reviewed the data. Perfect neural pattern preservation, zero degradation, complete personality retention. After 15 years of research, humanity had finally cracked the code to digital immortality. The celebration lasted exactly 6 minutes. The emergency alert came through on all channels. Her laboratory's security systems activated automatically, sealing all doors and encrypting all data channels. Through the reinforced windows, Elena could see the massive shape of a galactic assembly vessel moving into position above the research complex. "They know," she whispered, quickly initiating the emergency protocols she had hoped never to use. As the backup systems began their work, her quantum-secure communication device activated, displaying the stern face of Ambassador Chen. "Dr. Rodriguez, do not destroy your research," he said without preamble. "We've been expecting this. Protocol Omega is now in effect." Elena's hands froze above the emergency purge controls. Protocol Omega, the contingency plan that had been dismissed as paranoid when first proposed. The plan that assumed the Galactic Assembly wasn't the benevolent union of species it claimed to be. Across Earth and its colonies, similar scenes were playing out. Research facilities dealing with consciousness transfer technology received the same message. The Assembly had finally shown its hand, and humanity had been prepared. In the Galactic Assembly's main chamber on Europa Station, High Commissioner Zixtal of the Arcanian Collective was delivering his carefully prepared speech. The human experiments with consciousness transfer technology represent an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. We must act now to contain this threat. Ambassador Chen sat quietly in the human section, his face an unreadable mask. Around him, representatives of 200 alien species nodded in agreement with Zixtal's words. None of them noticed the small quantum device in Chen's pocket, transmitting every word back to Earth's strategic command. Furthermore, Zixtal continued, his crystalline form gleaming under the chamber's lights, "We have evidence that this technology has already advanced beyond acceptable parameters. Under Section 47 of the Assembly Charter, we are implementing immediate oversight of all human research facilities." Chen stood up slowly, his movement drawing all eyes in the chamber. "The Assembly has no authority to oversee human research," he said calmly. "And more importantly, you have no right to lie about your true motives." The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Zixtal's crystalline form flickered in what Chen had learned to recognize as surprise. "Ambassador Chen, these are serious accusations. They are facts." Chen interrupted, pulling out a data crystal. 15 years ago, the Arcanian Collective attempted its own consciousness transfer experiments. They failed, not because the science was impossible, but because your biological structure couldn't handle the process. Humans succeeded where you failed, and now you want to suppress our achievement rather than admit your limitations. The silence in the chamber was absolute. Chen activated the crystal, projecting its contents for all to see. Classified Arcanian research data, failed experiments, and most damning of all, internal communications discussing plans to prevent other species from succeeding where they have failed. "Humanity will not surrender its research," Chen continued. "But more importantly, we will no longer participate in an assembly that uses its power to suppress progress rather than encourage it." "You don't understand the implications," Zixtal said, his voice carrying a hint of desperation. "This technology, it changes everything. The power balance, the economic systems, the very nature of existence." "We understand perfectly," Chen replied. "We understand that the Assembly's founding species are afraid of change, afraid of losing their position at the top of the galactic hierarchy. But evolution cannot be stopped, High Commissioner. Progress cannot be contained." As Chen spoke, humanity's backup plan was already in motion. Across Earth and its colonies, research facilities activated quantum-encrypted networks that the Assembly couldn't detect. The consciousness transfer technology wasn't just a scientific breakthrough. It was proof that humanity had surpassed the Assembly's founding species in ways they couldn't comprehend. "This session of the Assembly is now concluded," Chen announced, walking toward the exit. "Humanity's representatives will not return. We choose progress over stagnation, innovation over control, freedom over fear." As the chamber doors closed behind him, Chen smiled slightly. The Assembly had always seen humans as young, impulsive, and naive. They never understood that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its technology or its resources, but in its ability to recognize patterns, prepare for contingencies, and act decisively when the moment came. The breaking point had arrived, but humanity wasn't breaking. It was evolving, and the galaxy would never be the same. Silent revolution. The quantum computing lab beneath Mars' Olympus Mons wasn't supposed to exist. According to official records, the massive underground facility was a simple maintenance hub for the colony's atmospheric processors. Dr. Sarah Chung liked it that way. She stood in the central control room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the status of Project Oracle. The quantum network had grown far beyond its original design, now spanning every human settlement in the solar system and beyond. While the Assembly ships patrolled space, looking for signs of consciousness transfer research, they remained blind to humanity's true technological revolution. "Breakthrough in Sector 7, announced her AI assistant. "We've successfully mapped the underlying architecture of Arcanian quantum shielding." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The Assembly's founding species had always assumed their technology was beyond human comprehension. They never considered that humanity's quantum computers could decode their secrets by analyzing the quantum weight their ships left in subspace. A priority message flashed across her main display. "Director Chang, the Assembly fleet is moving into position around Earth's orbital stations," reported Admiral Torres. "They're demanding inspection rights under their new security protocols." "Let them inspect," Sarah replied, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. "Everything they're looking for is already gone." In high orbit above Earth, the massive Assembly warships took up position around humanity's space stations. Their crews were confident in their superior technology, their advanced sensors capable of detecting any attempt at technological subterfuge. They had no way of knowing that every scan they performed was being analyzed and decoded by humanity's quantum network. Ambassador Chen sat in his office in Geneva, watching the Assembly ships through his window. His quantum secure communicator activated, displaying Sarah's face. "The Oracle network is ready, Ambassador. We've mapped their entire command and control system, and they still have no idea. None. Their quantum encryption is advanced, but it's based on mathematical principles they haven't updated in centuries. Our adaptive quantum algorithms broke their codes within hours." Chen nodded, remembering the shocked faces in the Assembly chamber days earlier. "How long until we can access their entire network?" "We already have," Sarah replied with a hint of pride. "But that's not the interesting part. We've discovered something they've been hiding from everyone, including themselves." In her Mars facility, Sarah brought up a complex quantum visualization. Their entire civilization is built on borrowed technology. The founding species of the Assembly didn't develop their advanced technology themselves. They found it, left behind by some ancient civilization. They've spent millennia trying to understand it, but they've only scratched the surface. "And we figured it out in weeks," Chen mused. "Hours, actually. Once our quantum computers decoded their basic principles, the rest was simple pattern recognition. Humanity didn't just develop consciousness transfer technology, Ambassador. We've surpassed the Assembly's understanding of their own technology." Across human space, the silent revolution continued. While Assembly inspectors searched for signs of consciousness transfer research, humanity's quantum network grew more sophisticated by the hour. Every scan, every communication, every piece of Assembly technology provided more data for the Oracle network to analyze and understand. In a secure facility on Europa, Dr. Rodriguez had transformed her consciousness transfer research into something even more revolutionary. "We've done it," she announced to the encrypted conference call with Earth's leadership. "We can now transfer consciousness not just between biological and digital systems, but directly into quantum states." The implications were staggering. While the assembly worried about humans transferring consciousness into computers, humanity had learned to encode consciousness into the quantum fabric of space-time itself. "Keep it quiet," Chen instructed. "Let them think we're just being defiant about their inspection demands. Let them think they still have the upper hand." Sarah turned her attention back to the quantum displays in her Mars facility. The assembly's ships continued their patrols, their crews confident in their superiority, never realizing that every moment they spent in human space provided more data for the Oracle network to analyze. "They still think this is about controlling technology," she murmured to herself, watching as new quantum patterns emerged in her displays. "They don't understand that humanity's greatest achievement isn't the technology we've created, but our ability to understand and improve upon the technology of others." The silent revolution wasn't fought with weapons or ships. It was fought with understanding, innovation, and the quintessentially human ability to see patterns where others saw only chaos. And as humanity's quantum network grew, encompassing more of space with each passing hour, the balance of power in the galaxy was shifting in ways the assembly couldn't begin to comprehend. The art of defiance. The trading hub of New Singapore floated in Earth orbit, its crystalline spires reflecting sunlight across the vast expanse of space. Maya Patel, Earth's chief economic officer, watched as thousands of merchant vessels began their synchronized departure. The assembly was about to learn an expensive lesson about human economic strategy. "All human merchants have received the coded instructions," her assistant reported. "Operation Market Shift begins in 3 minutes." Maya nodded, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display showing real-time market data from across the galaxy. The assembly had always viewed human trading practices as crude and simplistic. They were about to discover just how wrong they had been. In the Centauri Trading Exchange, the first ripples of chaos began. Human merchants simultaneously withdrew from all major trading contracts, citing assembly security restrictions as the cause. Within minutes, the carefully balanced galactic economy began to show signs of strain. "Ma'am," her assistant called out, "the Arcanian Central Bank is requesting an emergency conference. They're offering to lift all technology restrictions in exchange for maintaining current trade agreements." "Decline," Maya replied calmly. "Let them see what a galaxy without human trade looks like." Across assembly space, the carefully orchestrated economic campaign unfolded. Human merchants didn't just withdraw. They activated long-dormant business relationships with non-assembly species. Trade routes that had been considered unprofitable suddenly buzzed with activity, bypassing assembly control entirely. In his Geneva office, Ambassador Chen received the first desperate messages from assembly worlds. "Their economies are already feeling the pressure," he reported to the emergency council meeting. "But this is just the beginning." Dr. Sarah Chang's image appeared in the holographic display. "The Oracle network has confirmed our predictions. The Assembly's founding species don't just control through technology. They maintain power through economic dependency. And we've just thrown a wrench in their entire system." "What about the smaller Assembly species?" asked Dr. Rodriguez, joining the conference from her quantum research facility. "Are they responding as expected?" Maya's avatar materialized in the meeting. "Better than expected. The Verity Collective has already approached us about direct trade agreements. The Quantum Nexus is considering withdrawing from the Assembly entirely. We've shown them there's an alternative to Assembly control." The Assembly's response came swiftly but predictably. High Commissioner Zixtal announced sanctions against human worlds, expecting to force compliance through economic pressure. The announcement was met with an unexpected response. Laughter. "They still don't understand," Maya told her staff as they watched the announcement. "Humanity hasn't just built an alternative economy. We've created an entirely new economic paradigm." Deep in the quantum networks beneath Mars, Sarah's team made another breakthrough. "We've mapped their entire financial system," she reported to Earth's leadership. "The Assembly's founding species have been manipulating currency values for millennia, keeping younger species dependent on their economic control." "Can we prove it?" Chen asked. "Better," Sarah replied with a grin. "We can counter it. Our quantum algorithms can predict and neutralize their market manipulations in real time." The art of defiance wasn't just about saying no to assembly control. It was about showing the galaxy a better way. Human innovations in quantum computing had led to breakthroughs in economic theory that the assembly couldn't comprehend. While they tried to maintain control through restrictions and sanctions, humanity offered freedom and genuine partnership. Maya watched as another wave of merchant ships departed the new Singapore trading hub, each carrying quantum-encrypted data that would help more species break free from assembly economic control. The real revolution wasn't being fought with weapons or technology. It was being won through spreadsheets, trade agreements, and the human talent for finding opportunities where others saw only obstacles. "They thought they could control us through economic pressure," she murmured, watching the market data scroll across her screens. "They never understood that Earth's greatest export isn't goods or technology. It's the idea that there's always another way, always a path to freedom for those willing to think differently." In the weeks that followed, the Assembly's economic grip on the galaxy began to crumble. Species that had been dependent on assembly trade for millennia discovered new routes, new partnerships, and new possibilities through human innovation. The art of defiance had transformed from a strategy of resistance into a revolution of economic liberation. And somewhere in the vast quantum network that now spanned human space, the Oracle system calculated that the assembly had less than a month before their entire economic system collapsed. Humanity hadn't just refused to play by their rules, they had changed the game entirely. Ripples across the stars. The Galactic Assembly's Grand Archive, a vast structure of crystal and light orbiting a distant neutron star, had stood undisturbed for millennia. Now, its quantum-sealed doors opened for an unprecedented meeting. Representatives from 30 non-assembly species gathered in the ancient chamber, their presence a direct challenge to assembly authority. Kittel, leader of the Viridi Collective, stood before the gathered delegates. Behind him, displayed on a massive holographic screen, was proof of what humans had discovered through their quantum network, the assembly's grand deception. For thousands of years, Kittel's translator conveyed, "We believe the assembly's founding species achieved their advancement through natural progression. We now know differently. They found their technology hidden in ancient vaults across the galaxy. They didn't understand it. They merely learned to use it." In her quantum lab on Mars, Dr. Sarah Chang watched the proceedings through the Oracle network. "They're discussing the evidence we provided," she reported to Earth's Emergency Council. "The Assembly's founders aren't just losing control, they're losing their myth of superiority." Ambassador Chen's hologram nodded. "And the other species, how are they responding?" "Better than we hoped," Maya Patel interjected, her economic models streaming across their shared display. "The quantum nexus has already begun adopting our open trading protocols. The Stellar Concordat is requesting access to our educational databases. They don't just want our technology, they want to understand how we think." Across the galaxy, the ripples of humanity's defiance spread in unexpected ways. Species that had been rivals for centuries found common cause in resistance to assembly control. Trade routes that had been forbidden by assembly decree blazed to life with new possibilities. In the depths of space, near the galactic core, the massive research vessel Prometheus made another groundbreaking discovery. Dr. Rodriguez stood in her quantum consciousness lab, watching as her team decoded more of the ancient technology that the assembly had failed to understand. "It's not just consciousness transfer," she explained to the council. "The ancients who built this technology, they weren't trying to transfer consciousness. They were trying to evolve it, to help species transcend their biological limitations naturally, not through artificial means." The implications stunned the council into silence. The assembly hadn't just misused the ancient technology. They had completely misunderstood its purpose. Their fear of change had turned tools of evolution into instruments of control. In the archive chamber, Cattell continued his presentation. The humans didn't just resist assembly control. They showed us that resistance was possible. Their quantum computing didn't just break assembly codes. It revealed the truth about our own potential. The assembly's response was swift but futile. Their warships moved to blockade key trading routes, only to find those routes already transformed by human quantum technology. They tried to impose new restrictions, only to discover their authority meant nothing to species who had glimpsed true freedom. On a distant world that had long been ignored by the assembly, Sarah's quantum network made another discovery. The Oracle system detected patterns in the planet's geological structure that matched the quantum signatures of ancient technology. But unlike the assembly's discoveries, these ruins contained something different: teaching tools designed to help young species understand and develop advanced technology naturally. They're not just ruins, Sarah reported excitedly. They're schools. The ancients didn't want their technology to be found and used. They wanted it to be understood and improved upon. That's why the assembly could never fully master it. They tried to possess the technology instead of learning from it. The news spread through the quantum network, reaching every species that had broken free from assembly control. Humanity hadn't just challenged the old order. They had rediscovered the true path that the ancients had intended for all species to follow. Maya watched as economic data poured in from across the galaxy. The assembly's control is collapsing faster than we predicted. Species aren't just adopting our economic models, they're improving upon them, creating new forms of cooperation we never imagined. In the archive chamber, Cattell concluded his presentation with a proposal that would have been unthinkable months earlier. A new coalition of species, united not by control, but by shared learning and mutual growth. The human approach to understanding and innovation would be its foundation. The ripples had become a wave, transforming the galaxy in ways that even humanity hadn't fully anticipated. They had set out to resist assembly control, but in doing so, they had awakened something far more powerful: the collective potential of species working together to understand and improve upon the legacy of the past. And in the quantum networks that now spanned the galaxy, the Oracle system detected something else. Patterns suggesting that the ancients had foreseen this moment, had planned for a species that would unlock not just their technology, but their true purpose. New dawn. The great chamber of the assembly lay silent, its crystalline walls reflecting the light of distant stars. High Commissioner Zixtel stood alone at the center, his crystalline form dimmed with the weight of realization. The Oracle network's final transmission had reached every corner of the galaxy, and with it, the last vestiges of assembly control had crumbled. Ambassador Chen entered the chamber, his footsteps echoing in the vast space. He carried no weapons, needed no guards. The time for shows of force had passed. "You knew," Zixtel said, not turning around. "From the beginning, you knew what the ancient technology really was." "No," Chen replied, his voice calm. "We discovered it, just like you did. The difference is, we sought to understand it rather than control it." In orbit above Earth, Dr. Rodriguez's consciousness transfer project had evolved into something the assembly could never have imagined. The quantum consciousness network didn't just transfer minds. It allowed species to share experiences, knowledge, and understanding across the barriers of biology and physics. "The network is ready," Sarah Chang reported from her Mars facility. "Every species that's chosen to join the coalition has access, not just to the technology, but to the understanding behind it." Maya Patel's economic models had predicted this moment with perfect accuracy. The assembly's power hadn't been broken by force or technology, but by something far more fundamental: the sharing of knowledge and the natural desire of all species to grow and understand. "Your civilization will fall," Zixtel stated, a last attempt at defiance. Chen smiled gently. "No, High Commissioner. It will evolve, just as the ancients intended." just as all civilizations must if they wished to truly advance. Across the galaxy, the transformation was already underway. The quantum consciousness network had revealed what the Assembly's founders had spent millennia trying to hide. The ancient technology wasn't meant to elevate one species above others, but to help all species reach their full potential together. On countless worlds, species that had been kept dependent and subservient discovered their own capacity for innovation and growth. The human quantum network didn't give them solutions, it gave them understanding, the tools to find their own paths forward. The ancients left their technology as a test, Dr. Rodriguez explained to the Coalition Council. Not to see who could use it, but to see who could understand it, who could take their basic principles and evolve them into something new. In the assembly chamber, Chen activated a holographic display. It showed the galaxy transformed, not by conquest or control, but by cooperation and shared discovery. Trade routes pulsed with new energy as species exchanged not just goods but ideas. The quantum consciousness network glowed with the light of billions of minds learning, growing, and evolving together. This was always humanity's true strength, Chen told Zixtal. Not our technology, not our defiance, but our ability to look at the unknown and see possibility instead of threat, to face change and embrace it instead of fearing it. The High Commissioner's crystalline form flickered with understanding. And now, what becomes of us? That's your choice, Chen replied. The Coalition welcomes all species willing to learn and grow together. Even the Assembly's founders can join us, not as rulers, but as equals. The ancients believed that true advancement could only come through cooperation, through the sharing of knowledge and experience across all forms of life. Sarah's quantum network had discovered something else in the ancient ruins, a message encoded in the very fabric of space-time. The ancients hadn't just left their technology as a legacy. They had left a challenge, a call to any species that could evolve beyond the need for control and dominance. We're detecting new quantum signatures, Sarah reported excitedly. The ancient message, it's not just a recording. It's a key. There's more out there, so much more than we imagined. The new dawn brought more than just political change. It brought the revelation that the galaxy's story was just beginning. Humanity hadn't just broken the Assembly's control, they had opened the door to the next stage of galactic evolution. In the end, humanity's greatest victory wasn't in defeating the Assembly, but in showing the galaxy a better way forward. The consciousness transfer technology that had started it all became just one small part of a greater journey. The journey of all species learning, growing, and evolving together. As Chen left the assembly chamber, he paused at the doorway. The ancients had a saying, encoded in their quantum patterns. The universe doesn't belong to those who claim it, but to those who can understand it. Humanity didn't set out to rule the galaxy, High Commissioner. We set out to understand it. And in doing so, we helped everyone else do the same. The new dawn had arrived, not with the thunder of war or the clash of civilizations, but with the quiet revelation of shared understanding. And in the quantum networks that now spanned the galaxy, countless species began their own journeys of discovery, no longer bound by the limits of the past, but free to explore the endless possibilities of the future.